Hey over there, Joe Lunchbox.
Enjoy that,
And today we have landed right here in Limerick, New York. Limerick, New York is actually just a start-off point because today's video we are going to talk about two things. We're going to show you the filming locations of Everybody Loves Raymond. Classic TV show. We love sitcoms in this family. That aired from 1995 to 2006 and 9 seasons. Why are we in Limerick? Because that is the town that the show was supposedly set in. You okay?
It's windy!
It is windy. However, the houses of Frank and Marie, and Ray lived across the street, they were supposedly set in Limerick. However, the filming locations were in Merrick, New York, even though the show was filmed in LA. So we are going to show you the two houses from the show, and then we are going to pay our respects to the actor Peter Boyle, who played Frank Barone in Everybody Loves Raymond. We're going to drive out to Long Island and share with you Peter Boyle's grave. And that's what we're going to do today. We always appreciate you coming along on these adventures. If you like this subject matter, we appreciate if you like the video so we know what should we do more of. And like I said, we're always on these adventures, so if you haven't done it yet, we always appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. Comment down below, when you were young and you would sit home and watch sitcoms, what sitcom did you watch?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I know. Yeah. So I didn't have cable till 2013 when Joy was living with me already for 13 years. So shows like Everybody Loves Raymond, we definitely watched because having only those 4 major networks, sitcoms were what we watched. Unless we were going to rent some movies, we were watching sitcoms.
Yes, I flipped through a whole lot. I did.
Joy went through
Family Matters.
Joy moved in, going from cable to only 4 channels. She went through major withdrawals.
A lot of the old school MTV series, like
not from 2000 and 2013 though.
No, I was trying to get my
big withdrawals. All right, well we're gonna do this. So step right up. Let's go for this ride. As we sit on the corner of Peninsula Merrick, across the street from Limerick Village Hall. Like I said, the show was supposedly based here, but wasn't filmed here. We turn and we see Fowler Avenue. You see, Frank and Marie lived at 319 Fowler Avenue, and Ray and Deborah moved in at 320 Fowler Avenue, right across the street. When the initial move happened, Ray was totally against it. And Deborah was like, Ray, like it would be good for the kids. The grandkids should grow up across the street from the grandparents. It's going to be a wonderful thing. Boy, did she not know what was in store for her life, because
she hated it.
Marie knew what was best for the family and didn't care what Deborah said. And if you didn't watch Everybody Loves Raymond, I don't know first why you're watching this video, but thank you. But go watch some episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond because it is a great show. But let's go drive over to town America, show you where the actual filming locations were. And now we are making our way to the town of Merrick, where the real life locations are. And in the town of Merrick, New York, at 135 Margaret Boulevard, sits Ray and Deborah's house. Sitting right there. It was supposed to be Limerick, but it actually is in the town of Merrick. And just like the TV show, if we look across the street, the house that was Frank and Marie's house, that was right across the street in the show, is actually the house right across the street. And here you see a photo of Ray's house from the actual show. And here you see a photo of Frank and Marie's house from the actual show. So we saw the two houses from Everybody Loves Raymond. And now we are going to talk about the man who played Frank Barone, Peter Boyle. Right now we're going to leave this spot in Merrick, drive way out on Long Island to the southern fork. It's almost as far east as you could go, and we are about to visit the grave of Peter Boyle. We just finished our drive from the town of Merrick all the way out to Amagansett. We are at the Green River Cemetery to pay our respects to Peter Boyle. Born 1935, passed away in 2006. It says the kindest and the best of men. You might be wondering, why did we want to come out here to pay our respects to Peter Boyle? There's a few reasons. In a lot of his roles, he played crotchety men, both good hearts. That really reminds me of my grandfather, my father's father. And I also feel Peter Boyle is an underappreciated actor. He did pass away December 12th, 2006 at the age of 71 of bone marrow cancer and heart disease. But we're not here to talk about his death. We're here to talk about his life. I'll tell you a little bit about his childhood, and then we'll tell you about his acting. We're not going to tell you his whole acting resume. We'll tell you some of our favorite roles that he portrayed and some stories about those roles. So Peter Boyle was born Peter Lawrence Boyle, October 18th, 1935, in Norristown, Pennsylvania. Son of Alice and Francis. He was the youngest of 3 children and had 2 older sisters. Early in his life, the family moved to Philadelphia. The father was a local TV personality in Philly. He was more like a children's after-school host. So he would show like clips from the young Little Rascals, Three Stooges, Popeye cartoon. Boyle was raised Catholic. He attended St. Francis de Sales School and the West Philadelphia Catholic High School for boys. After he graduated high school in '53, Boyle actually spent 3 years in the formation of the De La Salle Brothers, a Catholic teaching order. He lived in a house where he did his studies and other novices, earning a Bachelor of Arts degree from La Salle University in Philadelphia in 1957. But he actually left the order. He didn't feel he had the calling for the religious life. He worked a little as a cameraman on a cooking show called Television Kitchen down in Philadelphia, but after graduating, he joined the United States Navy. He was in the Navy for a short time, but this career was shortened because of a nervous breakdown. After that, Peter Boyle moved to New York City, hired an acting coach, and took acting lessons at HB Studio while working as a postal clerk and a maitre d'. One of Peter Boyle's breakthrough roles came in 1970. It's a movie called Joe. If you ever want to see a weird, twisted, disturbing movie, this is a movie for you. I saw this many years ago. My mom remembers seeing it when she was young, and she's like, you have to see this. So Peter Boyle plays a blue-collar worker who could be looked at almost like a right-wing extremist. As he's sitting in a bar, he hears a guy talking that his daughter OD'd. He went to the daughter's apartment and confronts the boyfriend who got her the drugs, killed the boyfriend accidentally. And Peter Boyle hears this, and he goes and approaches the guy, and the guy thinks he's going to be blackmailed. Peter Boyle wants to help him. He wants to stop the dirty hippies and all this. Well, the daughter ends up running away from the guy, and they figure out they're at a hippie compound upstate New York. So first they go to the city to find out some information, and for being right-wing extremists, they do a lot of shady things that you wouldn't think people would do. I'm going to spoil the movie for you. They go up to this hippie compound up there, and when they go in, Peter Boyle brings a rifle and he starts shooting hippies, and he convinces this guy to start shooting hippies too, and this guy accidentally kills his own daughter, who is played by Susan Sarandon. Good movie. But the problem Peter Boyle had with this movie was it was ultra violent, and when the movie debuted, people were cheering for his character, who was Joe. He didn't want people cheering for it. The whole point was supposed to be that those thoughts were wrong. What they did was wrong, but people somehow were cheering for that. Because this Peter Boyle was like, you know what? Too violent a movie. I don't want to do stuff like this. Because he was against all the violence, they want to portray that. He actually turned down, supposedly, in 1971, The French Connection, part that Gene Hackman ended up going to play. So a little fun fact, after Peter Boyle made Joe, because he had a different opinion on gun violence and stuff like that, he actually befriended Jane Fonda, and they started protesting the Vietnam War together. Peter Boyle did find out a new way to be that grumpy character, but still loving. In 1974, he was in Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein. Now, if you don't know Young Frankenstein, so the plot of Young Frankenstein is the early 20th century, and we have Frederick Frankenstein. He didn't want to be known by the same name as his grandfather, Victor Frankenstein, the mad scientist. When Frederick, he inherits the family castle in Transylvania, he goes there, he sees his grandfather's work and actually takes over. Igor messed up. The problem was they wanted to get the brain of Hans, but Igor accidentally destroyed that brain, and he picked up a brain that was labeled abnormal, not normal, instead of the brain he was supposed to get. And Frederick unknowingly transplants this into the corpse of the monster, who is played by Peter Boyle. And how could anyone forget one of the most iconic scenes in that movie? Peter Boyle tap dancing to Putting on the Ritz, but grunting like as he was doing it. It is such a great role, and when you watch the transition from 1970 Joe to the monster in Young Frankenstein, it is great. It is great. I feel it is one of Mel Brooks' greatest movies. Yes, I love Blazing Saddles. Yes, I love Spaceballs. But Young Frankenstein is good. Joy's making faces, because what does she love?
I mean, Men in Tights was great.
Men in Tights is one of her favorites. I thought she was going to say Life Stinks.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, he's really a good.
Yeah, we like.
Yeah.
And I forgot to say that the scientist in it was played by Gene Wilder, but Peter Boyle, I felt everyone was great. It was a great movie, but I felt Peter Boyle as the monster stole the show. And from that, we have some other things. He was a bigger part in this, but a few years later, De Niro's in a movie called Taxi Driver. Did you even realize Peter Boyle was in Taxi Driver, or did you forget it? Now, he played an older taxi driver by the name Wizard that De Niro actually goes and gets advice from. So De Niro sought advice from the Wizard. And you know what he said? He went, so you do a thing, and that's what you are. One guy's born in Brooklyn. One guy's born in Sutton Place. Another guy's a lawyer. One's a doctor. Another guy dies. Another guy gets well. People are born.
What are you talking about?
Don't worry so much. Now, that's one of his, not actually, those are some of the words from Taxi Driver. But however, in season 2 of Everybody Loves Raymond, obviously we all love Frank Barone, the patriarch of Everybody Loves Raymond. And he was giving Ray advice in the 2nd season. And I love this. This is a great Easter egg that was put into Everybody Loves Raymond that people might not know. However, the speech he gave De Niro, he gives Ray Romano, almost word for word. And I just think it is such a cool little Easter egg that they tied in his past acting career. And I feel a lot of his past acting career always followed, like we were talking Young Frankenstein. Some weird thing about when he was on the set of Young Frankenstein, he actually met his wife. Her name was Lorraine Alterman. Obviously, when they got married, it was Boyle. She worked for Rolling Stone magazine, and he met her on set. But just think, he meets the love of his life in Frankenstein makeup. And how the world's small and cool, and I said I want to tell you fun stories that people might not know about Peter Boyle. While he met his wife, she actually was friends with Yoko Ono, so he befriended John Lennon. John Lennon was Peter Boyle's best man at his wedding. I think it's a cool little story. The world is weird and small. But let's go back to his acting career. We're gonna speed up a little to 1980, where him and Bill Murray were in a movie called Where the Buffalo Roam. If you don't know it, great movie, check it out. Now this is when I start to say, I feel Peter Boyle is underappreciated. So, in the Buffalo Roam, he played Laszlo. Laszlo was Bill Murray's lawyer. You wanna know who Bill Murray played? He played Hunter S. Thompson. This movie's great. However, in 1998, we have Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro doing Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Benicio del Toro was the lawyer there, whose name was Dr. Gonzo. Dr. Gonzo and Laszlo, the same person. Hunter S. Thompson based them off the same person. They played Oscar Zeta Acosta Fierro, who actually was born in 1935, disappeared in 1974, was good friends with Hunter S. Thompson, who he actually wrote about. This man was a Mexican-American attorney, an author and activist in the Chicano movement. He would represent people first around the San Francisco area, then he went to the East Los Angeles area. They obviously did change the name, but everyone talks about Benicio del Toro and Johnny Depp in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas playing Hunter S. Thompson and his lawyer. Not enough people talk about Bill Murray and Peter Boyle playing Hunter S. Thompson and his lawyer. You want to see a great movie? This is great. Peter Boyle's character, he first starts off as a lawyer, people getting arrested for having joints. But then he disappears, and every time he comes into Hunter S. Thompson's life, he sort of, even Hunter S. Thompson, who's partying his own life away, but he sort of pulls Hunter S. Thompson out of what he's normally supposed to do. Somehow he goes from being a lawyer to a revolutionary and gun runner and craziness. It is such a fun part. Such a fun part. After this, Peter Boyle does a bunch of little acting roles. So in October of 1990, Peter Boyle suffered a near-fatal stroke that rendered him completely speechless and immobile for nearly 6 months. He miraculously did recover from this and obviously did continue to act. Joy, tell us about X-Files Season 3 and why it's important in Peter Boyle's life.
So he was actually on one of the episodes of X-Files. He was in the Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose, where it was like the guy that kind of like saw into the future. So like he saw these people's deaths. He was the, I guess like insurance salesman for like
life insurance
salesman. So in one of the things, like he's sitting down and he goes to the couple that he's trying to get the life insurance. So he goes, you know, do this, don't do that. The guy was sitting there, oh, I want a boat. The guy's like, don't take the boat. I was like, oh, it's this whole fancy boat. And Peter Boyle's character is like, no, because, and then he just like kind of spaces out. Driving, you know, you're gonna get home to your wife and your child, and it's just and like he's sitting there telling us,
he knew the guy was gonna die in 2 years.
Yeah, like he's
get life insurance policy.
Yeah, he's like, come on, I like, and then the guy's like, well, this is one way to like end it. But anyways.
And the thing about Peter Boyle's character in that was, it's not like he could see the future. For some odd reason, he could just see how people died. He always would try to buy lotto.
And it would never work.
It wouldn't work. He couldn't see the future like that. It wasn't good enough.
But what was really cool also about that, side note, it was actually based on a real guy, like the guy's name. There was a person actually named Clyde Bruckman who was a writer and a comedian. And
who knew Buster Keaton?
Who did know Buster Keaton, worked with him, worked with a whole bunch of other people. And which even is creepier is like the little Easter eggs to that guy, to like just that episode, like two people that would also write stuff that Buster Keaton would do along with Clyde Bruckman was named as the detectives in the show. And
so I like X-Files.
I kind of do.
So
and in the end, Peter Boyle's
spoiler.
Sorry, spoiling it. And Peter Boyle's character, the actual guy, commits suicide. And in real life,
the guy who with the same name didn't commit suicide. Now, but what's interesting about that is, obviously, Peter Boyle sort of works as a police consultant to Mulder and Scully. Sorry about that. And he actually saves David Duchovny's life for seeing how David Duchovny almost would have been killed by the killer. They catch the killer. And even though he's done good, he's helped. Since he sees all this death and all this mortality, and he sort of takes his own life just because it's too sad to live in a world knowing everyone's going to die, knowing he's going to die. And he knew he was going to kill himself because he saw it in his future. Mm-hmm. He could have changed it. He changed the other ways, but he didn't. And that's what's sad. And what's interesting is he was so good in this role, Peter Boyle earned a Primetime Emmy for this role. Peter Boyle wins Primetime Emmy. Now, in 1996, he gets cast as Frank Barone. A side story about that. Supposedly, this is all hearsay, he was getting agitated driving to the audition. And he was getting mad at his wife, who was his co-pilot at the time, and getting frustrated. So when he walks into the audition, he was crotchety.
Like a crotchety old man.
And because of the way he was, is why he got cast to play Frank Barone, because Frank Barone was a crotchety old man. And I think that's a cool thing. I don't know if it's true. I really want that to be true. But obviously he was the patriarch I was saying in Everybody Loves Raymond. It ran from 1996 to 2005. Total of 9 seasons. Now, we think about him in that role. He played the father of Ray Barone, played by Ray Romano, married to Doris Roberts, who played Marie. 2 sons, Brad Garrett played Robert, Ray was the other son, and Ray's wife played by Patricia Heaton. I loved Everybody Loves Raymond. We watched it, like we were saying, back at the house. But here's another thing. So I felt Peter Boyle was underlooked because of his great thing working in Where the Buffalo Roam. It gets overshadowed by the 98 movie about Hunter S. Thompson. Here, Peter Boyle was nominated for numerous Primetime Emmys. He didn't win one. Ray Romano won 1. Patricia Heaton won 2. Doris Roberts won 4. Brad Garrett won 3. And the sad thing about the 3 that Brad Garrett won is he was winning for Best Supporting Actor. He was going against Peter Boyle. They gave 3 of them for Brad Garrett. I loved Brad Garrett's actor. You couldn't give 1 to Peter Boyle. You know what I mean? During the filming, Peter Boyle's health started to diminish. While on set one time, he did suffer a heart attack. We know, like I said, the show aired through 2005. It ended then. Peter Boyle passed away 1 year later in 2006. And I feel he was a great actor. You look at some of the roles he played and the range in them. When you look at something like the character of Joe to the monster young Frankenstein, to the lawyer in Where the Buffalo Roam, to a psychic in X-Files, just the grandpa in Everybody Loves Raymond. The acting that he could play, being the same grumpy old man, but totally different characters and portraying sort of that same thing, but in a totally different way, to me is amazing. Amazing. Being crazy lawyers, being just a monster. I don't know. I feel he's underappreciated, and we wanted to come here to his grave to share some stories about Peter Boyle. Hopefully you enjoyed watching them, and hopefully you enjoyed seeing the filming locations from Everybody Loves Raymond. There are 2 entrances into the cemetery. If you are driving along the road and the cemetery is on your right, you want to go in the second entrance, come down the road. A good way to find his grave is you'll see these 3 round tombstones like no other tombstones in the cemetery, and there is a rock that says Peter Boyle. Simple tombstone. I like that it's a raw piece of granite instead of cut with just a little plaque on it. But I think we could call it now, Joy.
I think so.
The filming locations of Everybody Loves Raymond and the grave of Peter Boyle. Been there, done that. Remember, folks, safe travels.
Goodies.
And live life. One other thing here about the Green River Cemetery. Peter Boyle isn't the only celebrity buried in the cemetery. At the very far end of the cemetery, we have a big stone. This is Jackson Pollock's grave. Obviously famous painter. But however, even though we were in the same cemetery, we're not here to talk about Jackson Pollock today. We will save this for another video one day. But I couldn't come show you Peter Boyle's grave, be in the cemetery, and not at least show you here's Jackson Pollock's grave as well.